It's still morning, right? So, good morning. I think yesterday, did we have a class yesterday? No, we didn't. Okay. The day before yesterday, we discussed these two countries, country A and country B. You remember them? Okay. So, in our units, whose topic is sociology, now it's time to discuss fact and opinion. You remember that topic? From which book? Yeah. This is the second book, so it was the first book, right? But the fact is, it didn't go into too much detail. So we are going to do it now. So how do you define something is a fact or an opinion? How do you define something is a fact or opinion? I'm sorry? Let's say this is like a fight, yeah. Fact and opinion. So there are actually three things to take into consideration. What are they? Evidence. Do we need proof? Or maybe you should reconsider what the definitions of them are.
Or concrete or abstract.
The first thing, yeah. If the information is concrete or abstract. You remember concrete information? What's the concrete information? Information touchable, interesting. No. Okay. Information about anything that is testable or what? Provable or testable, right? So it actually applies to this as well. Whether the information is, you can prove it or test it. Is that right? So this is also important, right? There is one other thing. Do you remember what it is? There is one more thing. There might be one more thing. Just try to brainstorm a little bit about this.
People generally agree about facts and based on proven.
People generally agree, but in a few minutes I will tell you a few things that you will not agree whether they are facts or opinions. So there are still some vague things. You remember the word vague? Do you remember the word vague? It means not clear. The information is vague. What parts of speech is that? Adjective. Definitely. So the third aspect to take into consideration is the validity of the information. You remember validity? What's a valid information? What's a valid information? For example, I am an alien from outer space. Is this information valid? No. So, true or false? Yeah. Validity means whether the information is true or false. Well, as intermediate level students, you have learned most of this vocabulary. Is there anything that you see for the first time? I don't think so. Okay. So let's look at the definition on your books. It says statements can be facts or opinions. Facts have evidence that is difficult to question. Evidence. But it says evidence that is difficult to question. So it's not about, it's not about evidence, right? That should be difficult to question. For example, like what? Some scientific things. For example, sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Right. Okay. So there's no question about that. That's a fact, right? In other words, it can be tested or proven. Okay. People generally agree about fact. That's what you said. What about opinions? What makes a statement an opinion? Well, the biggest distinction is that opinions are not objective. They are what? They're subjective, right? For example, opinions are a person's thoughts, beliefs, or feelings about something. I feel very good today. What's that? That's an opinion. Why is that?
So it's something about you and you cannot prove it.
And how do you know whether something is very or not? Right? Okay. Or feelings about something, we said. Opinions are often introduced by phrases such as I think. So, if you see I think, that's an opinion. Like what? Like a general fact. If we add I think, is it a fact or an opinion? For example, well, people generally don't say, I think sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Because that's a generally known fact. But if they did, what would it be? Well, it's about certainty of it. If the information is certain or not. For example, I am an alien from outer space. Is this a fact or opinion? Are you sure? It's a fact. Why is it a fact? Why is it a fact? Well, is it testable? Can it be proven? Maybe. Maybe I'm an alien from outer space, right? Is this concrete information? Yes. The thing is, when you think about whether something is a fact or opinion, you don't take validity into consideration. It's not important. Because let's say I am a liar, right? I'm a liar. I lie to you. Do I lie to you?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Because it's also a part of, part of the teacher's job to lie. You can be cool about that. Don't worry. Okay, it's my first time being filmed. Hello, by the way. It's my first time being filmed, but that's okay. That should be like a natural class atmosphere, all right? So, in my opinion, I believe, it seems to me, these are the things that makes facts opinion, right? In other words, opinions have evidence or information that can be questioned more easily. Okay, here's another sentence. The mountain gods ask for a sacrifice. What's that? Those tribal movies, like all tribes. Yeah, the gods want sacrifice. What's that? You remember the word sacrifice?
Yes.
Yeah. So, is this a fact or opinion? Can you test it?
No.
You can. So, the information is not concrete. It's abstract, right? So, it cannot be proven. So, it's definitely an opinion, right? So, you should come to the conclusion that the validity of the information has nothing to do with its being fact or opinion. But whether the information can be tested or proven. Actually, these two are the same thing, right? Yeah, that's it. Okay, so can I check whether it's true? Would other people have a different opinion about it? It doesn't matter so much. Work with a partner. We don't work with partners so much, in such atmospheres, Okay, let's decide whether these sentences are fact or opinion. According to the World Bank, it started like a fact, right? The population of Denmark in 2007 was 5,460,000. If I say, I think at the beginning and add like around 5 million or something. Yeah, that's right. The Brazilian soccer team is the best in the world. According to the statistics, if I say, that's right. Well, actually, best cannot be proven, I think, not so well. But if you mean the most successful, when you say best, if you mean the most successful, that can be tested, right? With statistics. So here it is an opinion. Brazil is the most successful team in the history of Soccer World Cup. They have won 5 times, which is more than any other country. What if it's a lie? Doesn't matter. Yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah. Green tea ice cream tastes good. Opinion. So can you test taste?
Yes.
No, for yourself, but not for the others. For example, who likes green tea here? Who doesn't like green tea here? Okay. Okay. Who likes Chinese food? Who doesn't like Chinese food? By Chinese food, I don't mean those bugs, little things that, okay. Anyway, so people have different opinions, right? Surveys by the Japan Ice Cream Association show that green tea is the 3rd most popular flavor of ice cream in Japan. That's right. Okay. So we have a listening. It says, read the paragraph, then work in small groups, answer the questions. What do people of your grandparents' generation say about the old days? You remember we talked about the old days, and now, do you think we live in a better world than in the past, or do you think the world is worse? Is it more comfortable to live? So let's compare and contrast those things. Is the air we breathe the same? Actually, if we compare the air in Istanbul, like in 1980s or 1990s to now, it is a lot cleaner now. Why is that?
Because there's a lot of trees.
Natural gas, definitely natural gas. So, what about our grandparents? So, when were they at your age?
They said that
In 1930s, 40s, maybe? Maybe earlier?
it makes our lives easier, but it also causes some things.
They always say people have changed. That's what they say all the time. People have changed. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
Actually, they changed.
That is the point. Yeah. They change. Right? The thing is, if you check like some ancient scripts about like students, they also say that, I don't remember by whom, they also say that, yeah, the next generation is very bad, they don't learn anything, they are very disrespectful. So that is kind of a proof that, is this a fact or opinion now? That's still an opinion, yeah. But if I support it with another thesis, that might not be enough. Can it be tested? Can you test the level of, respect? Respectometer. Okay. So, which of the points in the paragraph would they agree with? Let's read it. Some people believe that there was a golden age in the past. Do you agree with that? Did you have a golden age? No. You're standing on it right now. I have to say. They believe that there was a time when life was simple and pure. Okay. With fewer problems than modern life, is that true? Fewer problems? Or maybe it's been a long time they don't remember. I think most of your grandparents lived around the time of the Second World War. Yeah.
1930s, 1940s.
Yeah. Second World War. Do you think that time could be better than this time?
It depends on which country.
Okay. For example, the first thing I can compare with them is that there's an abundance of everything right now. Do you remember abundance? What's that? There is a lot of whatever there is, yeah. Abundance, what part of speech is that? No, yeah. There's an abundance of everything, but during that time, people were in lines to get some bread, get some sugar, get some salt, oil, yeah, these kinds of things. Where was I? Okay. With fewer problems than modern life. It's true that there was less technology. Do you think technology causes problems to you? I think technology causes more problems to older people. Okay. It's true that there was less technology, life was less convenient, and people's disposable incomes were probably much less than now. What's a disposable income? There's a very easy way to define that. What's disposable? Dispose means like get rid of something.
Income is salary.
Yeah, salary is not disposable income. Okay, let's say you get your salary and you paid your rent, your bills, and you paid for food. These are your needs, right? So there's some money left. That is called the disposable income. If you ask what it is, definitely it is the money that you can throw away. You can burn, So what do girls generally spend their disposable incomes? Clothes, shoes, bags, yeah. What do men do with the money? Games, matches, yeah. These kind of things. Okay. However, people were happier. They respected each other. Families were closer and people lived together peacefully. For those who believe in the golden age, people who lived in those times were fortunate. Fortunate? Lucky, yeah. Lucky. So, do you think old people think that the next generation is disrespectful because they are actually disrespectful? Or is it the lack of communication or the change of communication that they cannot catch up with? Yeah, we buried all of them right now. Okay, let's look at the keywords. You all know decrease, right? What is the opposite of decrease? Increase. Okay. What else? Keep it going. There are lots of words. Rise, arise, expand, maybe. Do you know the word shoot up. This is not shut up, by the way. Shoot up. For example, let's say this is like a chart here. The thing goes like this, and then you say, it's like the prices. Let's say the prices just shut up. It means like rise dramatically. There's a saying like that in Turkish, like to the ceiling. What's, you know, ceiling, right? Don't you? Okay, so this disposable income, it says the amount of money someone can spend on things that they want, but they don't need, right? For example, I think all the boys here want to get like an Xbox or PlayStation or things like that. Is it what you need or what you want? You want. Yeah. What about girls? What do you want?
Shoes. I think clothes bags are need. We need them.
What about like a huge room full of them?
Also, we need them.
Okay. So how many, let's say in a month, how many different shoes do you wear? Okay, this is too ethical. Let's not, you know. Okay. To double. What's to double?
Twice.
Yeah, become twice of it. Doubled as an adjective. Yeah, it's fortunate. We talked about this. To halve. To halve. It's not half, but it's from the same root. To halve. For example, you say, our income has halved. It's half of it now, right? Income, you know, triple, 3 times bigger, yeah. Tripled as an adjective, 300%, yeah. Twice, you know about this. Let's look at these fill in the blanks thing. You know that a lot. The population is what it was in 1945 in the US. What can we say about this? Double. Yeah. Farmers and food companies produce the amount of food compared with 1945? Triple. Yeah. But is it triple or tripled here? With D or not? Who says with D? Who says without D? It is without D. Yeah. Triple the amount. Double the amount. You don't use them with D.
That makes it true.
That's the use of it. So, the number of deaths in the road traffic accidents decreased between 1980 and 2006. People are fortunate because they can buy more than twice as much with their income or disposable income today compared with the mid-1950s, which is true. So, we are going to listen to this global listening part. There are questions here, 6 questions. I want you to try to listen and understand these, okay? And I also want you to try to take notes of those supporting details. The server lag. Interesting. Oh, just in time. Just in time. Hello, server. Hello. Hello, server. precautions about things. Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
Unit 6, Sociology, the Effects of Prosperity. Lecture, It is the Best of Times.
Good morning, everyone. Do you feel fortunate? Well, I certainly do. I feel fortunate to be alive now, in these modern times. Earlier this morning, I sat down in my air-conditioned office, turned on my computer, and answered emails from friends in Hong Kong and Scotland. To help me plan for tomorrow's trip, I checked the Tokyo weather forecast using the internet. Then I looked at a university database to find information for a book I'm writing. That may not sound like anything special, but compare it with the world I was born into, not much more than half a century ago. In that world, there were none of the things I've just mentioned. No internet, no affordable frequent jet airliners, no cell phones. And it's not just technology that has changed our lives so much. Our average disposable income buys more than twice as much as it did in the mid-1950s. With our income, we have twice as many cars per person today compared with then. We eat at restaurants 2.5 times as often, and do plenty more besides. And there's a lot more good news than just that. The US population has doubled since 1945, but we produce triple the amount of food. Our pay can buy more. In 1919, a half a gallon of milk cost the average US worker about 40 minutes of work. 80 years later, that figure was only 7 minutes. Heavy drinking rates and drunken driving deaths are decreasing. New medical treatments are saving more of us from diseases such as cancer. And life is getting safer. Look at car accidents, for example. The number of deaths per mile we drive halved from 1980 to 2006. Well, this is just one example. And what about family life? I wonder whether any of us really wish to experience the way families lived 100 years ago, with outside toilets, with less electricity generated each year than we now use in a day, when people often died at an early age from diseases such as tuberculosis and pneumonia. During the 20th century, life expectancy rose from 47 to 76 years. A few years ago, a British TV company asked for families to volunteer for a reality TV show. They would spend 3 months living the middle-class life of 1900, which was probably very easy compared to working-class life at the time. Out of 450 families who applied, the TV company chose Joyce and Paul Bowler and their 4 children. They had to get up at 5:30 each morning, prepare food, wear uncomfortable clothes, shampoo with a smelly mixture including eggs and lemon, and play family games by gaslight at night. After just a week of this, they almost gave up, but they kept going. Perhaps a reason for their difficulties was that they didn't have people around them living a similar life. However, the reality of the early 1900s did not feel as romantic as they'd expected. So, perhaps some people say we have problems in the present, but the past is not a golden age that we should try to bring back. Yesterday was not the best of times. Today is the best of times. Golden ages do happen, as political scientist John Mueller said, but they happen only in our memories. John Templeton sees the present as the best of times. In his book, Is Progress Speeding Up?, he concludes that things are getting better faster than ever, making this a wonderful time to be alive. How true. Yet, there is more to the story. At the beginning of this lecture, I said I felt fortunate. However, I might not feel fortunate all the time.
Well, he was getting somewhere. Okay, is life more convenient now than in the past? Yes. Even these numbers, these numbers here prove that. So what is this life expectancy?
Average.
The average lifespan people lived in the past and now. So it has clearly changed, right? So, can people buy more now than in the past? Definitely. Are we safer now than in the past? Well, you can walk in the streets freely. Yeah, not you couldn't do that in the past. Would modern people find it easy to live as people did in 1900s? Do you think? No. What did the speaker talk about? Do you remember this reality show that he talked about? People tried to live, like, what was the plan? How long were they going to live? How long were they going to live like that? Like in 1900s? 40 minutes? No, it's not 40 minutes. I think it was like 3 months, was it? Yeah. But how long could they do that? I think, no, not a month. They couldn't even resist that for a month. It was like, I think 2 weeks, right? It was around 2 weeks, as far as I can remember. Because I was doing something else, I didn't listen to it. Okay. Did a golden age exist?
Yes.
Not.
Do you think the speaker actually meant that? I'm sure he said a golden age existed in the past, but then he said only in their memories. So there's an implication. You remember implications? So what did he imply?
They are wrong. They just want to say that.
Yeah, what he implied was that yesterday was not the best of times. Today is the best of times, right? I'm sorry?
That wasn't actually.
Yes, definitely. Overall, in the last 100 years, which was the best time? So we answered this question as well. So now is the best time. Let's look at the next page. So we have focused listening, but I'm not sure if we have to listen again. Let's check. Life is more convenient now than in the past. What are the supporting details? I think you remember because you took notes. Technology, cell phones, emails. I'm sorry, healthcare, air conditioning, internet, toilets. Do you remember that part? That is like the worst thing, yeah? Okay. People can buy now than in the past.
Yes.
How long did an average worker have to work? In the past, 40 minutes. Now it is like 7 minutes. Yeah, that is definitely a change. People are safer now than in the past. Do you remember any car accidents? Yeah. I don't understand how people died with like slower cars. Camels. When like two camels collide, is it counted a traffic accident? I don't know. Okay. Modern people would find it difficult to live as people did in 1900s. We talked about this, the reality show. That is the supporting detail. A golden age did not exist in the past. We also talked about this. And now is the best time. In the conclusion, this is the conclusion part. And it also gave supporting details. Okay. On the next page, on page 97, we have identifying and evaluating information presented to support a position. What's a position? Position might have, not posture. Posture is different. Localization? Do you remember posture? What's that? The way you stand or sit, right? Okay. So what's a position? Support a position. Position is like a standing point and thus an idea, right? Your opinion. So we will try to identify and evaluate information which a person uses to support his or her opinion. Let's look at that. Ideas and arguments presented to support a position can be strong or weak. We can understand that, right? It's easy to understand. Some of them are based on facts, and some of them are based on clear logic. Are these strong or weak support?
Strong.
They're strong. Weak ideas based on opinions. So, I don't like this is not a strong support. Based on statements that look like facts but that have no supporting evidence. If you take the oil of this and rub it to your that sounds like a fact, but it's not actually. Based on only one example, which might not be usual or normal. So once I saw some light in the air, so there are ghosts. So, you understand the difference between that? I think we can finish it here, right?